Have you ever stood in front of your refrigerator in the morning, sliced a fresh cucumber, and thought to yourself, at least this one thing I'm doing right for my health? What if I told you that this exact habit, something millions of Americans repeat every single day believing it protects their body, may be silently damaging their kidneys and blood vessels at the same time, without pain, without warning, and without a single clear symptom until it's almost too late? I'm Dr. Richard Hale, and I need to say this clearly and urgently. For many older adults, kidney failure doesn't begin with fast food, alcohol, or obvious bad habits. It begins with healthy foods eaten the wrong way, repeated quietly day after day until the damage is already done. I've worked with patients who never smoked, never drank, exercised regularly, and followed what they believed was a clean, disciplined diet, and yet still found themselves sitting in a dialysis chair, stunned, asking the same question over and over again. How did this happen to me? The truth is uncomfortable, but it's critical. Certain everyday food choices, especially the way most people eat cucumbers, can overload your kidneys, stiffen your blood vessels, and accelerate internal aging long before your lab tests raise red flags. Your body doesn't scream at first. It whispers. Through morning swelling, nighttime cramps, restless sleep, and fatigue you blame on age. But here's the part that gives you power. This damage is not inevitable. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what most people are doing wrong, why it's dangerous at a biological level, and most importantly, how a few simple changes can protect your kidneys instead of silently draining them. Stay with me, because one small change you make after this video could determine whether your later years are lived freely or quietly surrendered to a hospital bed. Most people don't damage their kidneys with one dramatic mistake. They do it quietly, politely every morning, believing they're being healthy. The first and most common problem isn't a dangerous food pairing yet. It's something much simpler: how cucumbers are eaten day after day. Raw, cold, often first thing in the morning, sometimes on an empty stomach. It feels light, clean, refreshing. And that's exactly why it slips under the radar. From a biological perspective, cucumbers are more than just water. They're over 95% fluid and naturally high in potassium. In small controlled amounts, that combination can help the body release excess sodium and ease pressure on blood vessels. That's why cucumbers are often recommended in heart-healthy or detox diets. But kidneys are not passive filters. They are living, responsive organs that react to temperature, mineral load, and timing. When you eat raw, cold cucumbers frequently, especially without food and without warming or protective elements, you repeatedly stimulate renal filtration. The kidneys are pushed to flush fluid and electrolytes again and again without adequate recovery time. This doesn't cause pain, it causes fatigue. I've seen this pattern countless times. One patient, a 64-year-old retired engineer, came in frustrated and confused. He exercised daily, avoided sugar, drank plenty of water, and ate vegetables religiously. Every morning before breakfast, he sliced a cold cucumber straight from the fridge and ate it plain. No dressing, no protein, no fat, just cucumber. He told me I thought this was the cleanest thing I could do. What he didn't connect were the changes creeping in slowly. His fingers felt stiff in the mornings. His ankles stayed slightly swollen by evening. He was waking up 2 or 3 times a night to urinate. His energy dipped, and he blamed it on age. Blood tests showed his kidney function was still technically normal, but trending downward. Creatinine was rising just enough to be concerning. This is the dangerous stage when labs haven't crossed red lines yet, but the kidneys are already under strain. Here's the science behind why this happens. After age 60, kidney blood flow naturally declines by about 10% per decade, even in otherwise healthy adults. That means your margin for error shrinks. The kidneys become less forgiving. Repeated mild stress, especially from fluid and electrolyte swings, adds up faster than most people realize. Cold foods intensify this effect. Cold exposure triggers reflex vasoconstriction, narrowing small blood vessels. In the kidneys, that reduces microcirculation around the filtration units. Now combine that with high water content and potassium load, and the kidneys are forced to work harder under poor conditions. This is why the early warning signs look vague. Mild swelling, nighttime leg cramps, restless sleep, morning fatigue. Nothing dramatic, nothing that sends you to the emergency room. Just enough discomfort to normalize and ignore. When we adjusted this patient's routine, not eliminating cucumbers, but changing how and when he ate them. The difference was noticeable within weeks. He stopped eating them cold. He paired them with meals instead of on an empty stomach. He reduced frequency. The swelling eased. Nighttime urination decreased. His follow-up labs stabilized. Nothing extreme changed, just precision. This is where many people get misled. They think kidney damage only comes from too much salt protein or medication. But one of the most common patterns I see is low-grade strain from healthy habits done incorrectly. Your kidneys whisper before they scream, and eating cucumbers the wrong way turns a gentle food into a daily stress test. Your kidneys were never designed to pass, so no, cucumbers are not the enemy. But they are not automatically safe just because they're green and fresh. Timing matters, temperature matters, frequency matters, and context matters. And here's the critical transition you need to hear. Even if you fix how you eat cucumbers, even if you stop eating them cold or on an empty stomach, there is another mistake that quietly cancels their benefits altogether. But just knowing this first mistake isn't enough, because there's another factor that's far more dangerous and almost everyone overlooks it. Now, if you've listened this far, you might be thinking, okay, I'll stop eating cucumbers cold and I won't eat them on an empty stomach. That already puts you ahead of most people. But here's where things get far more deceptive, because even when cucumbers are eaten at the right time in reasonable amounts, one extremely popular, healthy combination can quietly erase their benefits altogether. I'm talking about cucumbers and carrots eaten together. On the surface, this looks like the safest choice imaginable. A clean salad, bright colors, no sugar, no processed food. In American kitchens, cucumbers and carrots sit side by side as the symbol of disciplined eating. Many people choose this pairing specifically because it feels light, plant-based, and protective. I've heard the same sentence more times than I can count, "Doctor, I only eat vegetables." One woman I worked with, 65 years old, active, careful with her diet, had made this exact combination a daily habit. Every afternoon, she prepared sliced cucumbers and raw carrots with a light dressing. She believed she was nourishing her blood vessels and protecting her kidneys. But slowly things changed. Her blood pressure became harder to control. Her legs felt heavier by evening. She started waking at night to urinate. Routine labs didn't show anything dramatic at first, but trends told a different story. Declining vascular flexibility and early signs of reduced kidney efficiency. She was shocked. "How can this be happening?" she asked, "when I eat so clean?" Here's what was happening beneath the surface. Carrots are rich in vitamin C and beta-carotene. Vitamin C in particular plays a crucial role in maintaining the elasticity of blood vessels, especially the tiny capillaries that deliver oxygen and nutrients to the kidney's filtration units. These microvessels are fragile. They depend on consistent antioxidant support to repair themselves. But cucumbers contain an enzyme called ascorbate oxidase. This enzyme stays mostly inactive while the cucumber is whole. But the moment you slice it, chew it, or mix it with other foods, the enzyme becomes active, and its job is simple but destructive. It breaks down vitamin C. That means when cucumbers and carrots are eaten together, the vitamin C from the carrots is partially destroyed before your body ever gets a chance to use it. You don't feel this happening. There's no immediate symptom, no warning signal. But over months and years, this silent nutrient loss adds up. Nutritional biochemistry research shows that vitamin C degradation can begin within minutes when enzymes like ascorbate oxidase are present, especially in raw food combinations. For older adults whose baseline antioxidant levels are already lower, this loss matters far more than people realize. Now connect this directly to kidney health. The kidneys rely on an intricate network of microscopic blood vessels called glomerular capillaries. These vessels are thinner than a human hair. When vitamin C intake is consistently undermined, endothelial repair slows. Blood vessels stiffen, microcirculation worsens, and the kidneys are forced to filter blood under increasingly compromised conditions. Over time, this contributes to rising creatinine, reduced filtration efficiency, and early protein leakage, even in people who believe they are doing everything right. This is why so many individuals who avoid sugar and processed foods still end up confused by declining kidney markers. The damage doesn't come from excess. It comes from conflict, healthy foods working against each other. What makes this mistake especially dangerous is how virtuous it feels. People don't question it. They repeat it daily. And because the damage is slow, it's easy to miss the connection. There are partial workarounds. Acidic environments can reduce enzyme activity. Adding vinegar or lightly pickling cucumbers can help preserve vitamin C to some extent. Cooking carrots with a small amount of healthy fat improves beta-carotene absorption and avoids this enzymatic conflict altogether. But the safest strategy isn't correction, it's separation. Eat cucumbers on their own. Eat carrots separately, ideally cooked. Precision matters more than restriction, especially as we age. Because after 60, nutrition becomes less forgiving. Small biochemical clashes that once didn't matter suddenly do. And if you've been combining cucumbers and carrots because you thought you were making the healthiest possible choice, you're not alone. Most people do. But just knowing this isn't enough, because if you think this mistake is dangerous, the next one acts even faster and hits the kidneys in a completely different way. If the previous mistake works slowly, quietly wearing down your blood vessels over time, this next one is different. It doesn't wait months or years. It can trigger real symptoms in days. And that's what makes it dangerous. This is the combination of cucumbers and radishes, especially when they're eaten cold. To most people, this pairing feels refreshing. Cold cucumber slices, crisp radish, light salads, pickled sides, summer meals meant to cool the body. In American kitchens, this combination is often seen as clean, detoxifying, and gentle. But inside the body, particularly inside aging kidneys, it can provoke a completely different response. Let me tell you about a situation that illustrates this clearly. A 68-year-old woman came to see me complaining of sudden swelling in her feet and around her eyes. She was waking up multiple times a night to urinate, yet paradoxically felt more bloated every morning. She hadn't changed her medications. She hadn't increased salt. Nothing obvious explained the shift. The only change she'd made was her diet. Trying to eat lighter and lose weight, she had replaced dinner with a cold salad made mostly of cucumbers and radishes. She ate it every evening for just over a week. Within days, her symptoms escalated. Lab tests showed a noticeable rise in creatinine, not over years, but over days. Here's why this happens. Both cucumbers and radishes have a strong cooling effect on the body. While that may sound harmless, kidney function depends heavily on stable blood flow and thermal balance. The kidneys regulate fluid through finely tuned pressure gradients and microcirculation. When those systems are disrupted, filtration efficiency drops immediately. Cold foods trigger reflex vasoconstriction, a narrowing of blood vessels. In the kidneys, this means the tiny vessels surrounding the filtration units constrict. Blood flow slows, pressure rises, waste clearance becomes inefficient. Imagine trying to filter water through a system of pipes while slowly tightening the valves. Flow decreases, resistance increases, and backup begins almost immediately. In traditional physiology, this is sometimes described as cold stress. In modern terms, it's a disruption of renal hemodynamics. Research on renal perfusion shows that even modest reductions in kidney blood flow can significantly impair glomerular filtration in older adults. After age 60, the kidneys already operate with reduced reserve. There's less buffer, less adaptability. So when cold, high-water foods are eaten together repeatedly, the system struggles to recover between cycles. This explains why the symptoms appear in clusters. Fluid retention during the day, facial puffiness in the morning, heavy legs by evening, and then increased nighttime urination as the body tries to rebalance while you're asleep. Sleep breaks, blood pressure fluctuates, the kidneys never fully reset. What makes this mistake especially dangerous is its speed. Unlike the cucumber and carrot combination, which erodes vascular health, slowly cucumbers and radishes can provoke acute stress. People often misinterpret swelling as too much water, so they reduce fluids, which only forces the kidneys to work harder. The cycle accelerates. There are culinary strategies that can partially offset this effect. Warming ingredients like ginger garlic or chili promote circulation and counteract vasoconstriction. Eating these foods at room temperature rather than cold helps. But for individuals with already weakened kidney reserve, relying on fixes like this is risky. The safer approach is separation. Eat cucumbers on one day, eat radishes on another. Avoid combining them cold, and never make this pairing a daily habit, especially in the evening. This matters even more for older adults whose ability to regulate temperature and blood flow is naturally reduced. What feels refreshing to the mouth can feel shocking to the kidneys. If you've ever woken up with swollen eyelids, heavy legs, or cloudy foamy urine after several days of light-cold eating, this isn't coincidence. It's feedback. Your kidneys are struggling to maintain balance. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people never connect these symptoms to food. They blame age. They blame weather. They blame sleep. Meanwhile, the trigger keeps showing up on the plate. But even knowing this still isn't enough. Because there is one more mistake involving cucumbers, and it's the most common of all. Almost everyone does it, and it quietly undermines kidney and blood vessel health every single day. But just knowing this still isn't enough, because there's one more factor more common than all the others, and it may be the one that decides whether your kidneys can recover or not. After hearing everything so far, many people finally feel alert. They stop eating cucumbers cold. They separate cucumbers from carrots. They avoid pairing them with radishes. And that's when most viewers relax, believing they've learned the critical lesson. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The most dangerous mistake with cucumbers isn't rare at all. It's something millions of Americans do every single day, believing it's perfectly safe. That mistake is eating raw cucumbers without vinegar. Think about how cucumbers are usually eaten. Rinsed, sliced, maybe sprinkled with a little salt. Sometimes eaten plain when you're thirsty, hiking, gardening, or trying to avoid sugary drinks. It feels clean, natural, almost virtuous. In fact, many people believe this is the healthiest way to eat cucumbers. Biologically, it's the opposite. Cucumbers contain an enzyme called ascorbate oxidase. While the cucumber is whole, this enzyme stays mostly inactive. But the moment you slice it, chew it, or crush it, the enzyme is released, and once active, it immediately begins breaking down vitamin C. Not just vitamin C from other foods, the vitamin C inside the cucumber itself. So when you eat raw cucumbers without an acidic companion, you're essentially watching valuable nutrients self-destruct in real time, right on your plate and then in your mouth. You don't taste this happening. You don't feel it happening. But the loss is real. Vitamin C plays a critical role in protecting the endothelium, the thin inner lining of blood vessels. This lining determines whether blood flows smoothly or whether inflammatory particles begin sticking to vessel walls. In the kidneys, this lining is even more important because the filtration units, the glomeruli, are made almost entirely of delicate blood vessels. When vitamin C availability drops consistently, endothelial repair slows. Microvessels stiffen. Filtration efficiency declines. Over time, this contributes to protein leakage, foamy urine worsening, nighttime urination, and reduced kidney resilience, especially in older adults whose antioxidant reserves are already lower. I worked with a man in his early 70s who prided himself on staying active. Every hike, every long walk, he carried cucumbers instead of bottled drinks. He believed he was hydrating cleanly, but he complained of persistent fatigue, swelling, and frequent nighttime urination. His labs showed elevated inflammatory markers and borderline nutrient deficiencies. On paper, his diet looked ideal except for one habit. He always ate cucumbers raw, plain and alone. When we made a simple adjustment, soaking cucumber slices briefly in water with a tablespoon of vinegar before eating, his symptoms began to improve within weeks. No supplements, no medications. Just protecting the nutrients that were already there. Here's why this works. Acidic environments deactivate ascorbate oxidase. Vinegar essentially switches off the enzyme before it can destroy vitamin C. This allows your body to absorb and use the nutrients cucumbers were meant to deliver. Traditional food cultures understood this intuitively. That's why cucumbers have been paired with vinegar for centuries, not just for flavor, but for function. Vinegar also provides additional benefits. Organic acids help improve blood flow, support sodium excretion, and reduce blood viscosity. When combined with cucumbers, the result isn't just hydration, it's circulation support. Blood flows more freely. The kidneys filter with less resistance. The system works with your body instead of against it. Without vinegar, raw cucumbers act like a leaky container. Water goes in, nutrients slip out, and your kidneys are left working harder without the tools they need to repair themselves. That's what makes this mistake so dangerous. It feels healthy, it's repeated daily, and because the damage is slow, people rarely connect the dots until kidney markers begin to shift. But here's the empowering part. This is also the easiest mistake to fix. You don't need to stop eating cucumbers. You don't need extreme diets or expensive supplements. You simply need to eat them in a way your body can actually use. And now that you've seen all 4 hidden mistakes, how cucumbers strain the kidneys when eaten incorrectly, how they destroy protective nutrients when paired the wrong way, how they disrupt circulation when combined with cold foods, and how they sabotage themselves without vinegar, the final question becomes unavoidable. Because knowing all of this still isn't enough, unless you understand how to put it together the right way. And what comes next may decide whether your kidneys recover or continue to decline silently. Before we end, I want you to hear this clearly and calmly. Your kidneys are not weak. They are patient. They work quietly for you every single day, filtering your blood, balancing fluids, protecting your body, often asking for help long before they ever show pain. If you recognize yourself in any part of today's video, please don't feel fear or guilt. Awareness is not a sentence. It's an opportunity. You don't need perfection. You don't need extreme diets. You don't need to give up foods you enjoy. Small, thoughtful changes, how you eat, how often, and how foods work together, can reduce strain, restore balance, and give your kidneys the support they've been waiting for. If this video helped you understand your body a little better, please save it. Not just for today, but for the day you or someone you love needs a reminder of how to protect kidney health before it's too late. And if you want to keep receiving clear, practical, science-based guidance to care for your kidneys, subscribe to the channel. Every week, I share insights designed to help you prevent problems, not just react to them. Most importantly, remember this: kidney damage does not happen overnight, and healing doesn't require perfection. It begins with intention, consistency, and respect for your body. As long as you're willing to learn and adjust, there is always a path forward. Take care of your kidneys, and they will quietly take care of you for years to come.